Sometimes as we go through our day-to-day existence, we feel that the path of somebody else is impinging upon our capacity to sort our way through a difficult situation. And right now, you may find yourself in a position where you're looking for a way out of a particular dilemma. Somebody else is experiencing precisely that very same dilemma. And each of you wants a way out. The only thing is you see the way out as being one particular direction. And the other person sees that that way out is a completely different direction, right? So each of you tries a little bit of gentle persuasion. But with that gentle persuasion that comes into the equation, each party only finds themselves getting a little more frustrated with the other party about the fact that you feel like your capacity to sort something is completely being diminished, or at the very least slowed down by somebody else who has a completely different point of view. And so then you begin to feel like, well, this gentle persuasion isn't going to work. So, I'm stuck with another dilemma, and the other dilemma is that of going, okay, well, I either stay with this dilemma, which doesn't really seem like it's possible to kind of stick with for any long period of time, or I have to become a little stronger with my convincing power of the other person, right? You feel isolated. You feel like you're not being supported in getting through a situation. You're feeling like you're stuck. You're feeling like this isn't changing. The only way it's going to change is if everybody takes exactly the same direction. So you're beginning to feel like you have to be a little bit stronger in your persuasion. That's not working. You have to go, well, you're just an idiot. You need to see things this way. And because you're an idiot, we're stuck in this situation. And then you have somebody on this side and somebody on this side. And then there's tons of tension. And hey, maybe even a conflagration. And who knows, maybe even a revolution of one party against a completely different party. But guess what? You both want the same exact thing. You both want the same exact thing. You both want a way out of a difficult situation. You're both seeing something as being, well, not really dealable anymore. You can't handle it. You can't just sit around and let this problem continue to exist, right? So you have a unity. But you don't see that you have a unity. The main problem that you're having in this situation is not one of the other person seeing that there's a different way out of this scenario. That's not your problem. Your problem is not letting that other person have their way and not allowing yourself to have your way as well. Because in your mind, you think that dualism, that seeming dualism is only going to take you in completely different directions, and it's only going to prolong a situation. But perhaps going in that direction where you're going, okay, I need to do this, and they need to do this too, right? That's not going to solve anything. But going in that direction of going, okay, I need to do this. They are feeling that they need to do that. Perhaps I need to do this, and perhaps they need to do that, and perhaps through both of us not getting into a row, an argument, a conflict over whose way is right, we can both find a way out of this scenario a little more quickly. I was thinking the other day about the concept of fascism, right? And how, a lot of us will be very quick to go, well, this government is fascist and this is fascist. But you know what? A lot of times, each and every one of us is really a fascist, right? Okay? Where am I coming from with that? Well, when we see things in a certain way, and somebody else doesn't, and we try to force them to live in our way, really, at the end of the day, that's being a bit of a fascist, right? And it's creating further division. We can't control what another person thinks. We can't control what another person feels. We can't control what another person does, really. We can try to, but if that person wants to do that, hard enough, even at the risk of, I'm going to say it, even at the risk of getting themselves thrown in jail, or even at the risk of, making us angry or not being friends with us anymore, that person's going to do that. We can't stop them at the end of the day, right? What are you going to do? Lock them in a room and force them to behave in a certain way and stand over them until they do so? Well, if they really wanted to, they could, find a way out of that too. So it's no good trying to tell another person how they should live their lives. And it's no good for that other person to try to tell you the same. And both of you have to see things my way, understand? I'm only kidding. But we can, each of us, be a little bit fascist in our approach, where instead we're needing to take a look at the fact that even though we may feel we're getting pulled in two separate directions, everybody's wanting the same thing right now. Everybody's wanting a crisis to end. Everybody's wanting it to come to completion. Everybody's wanting to be able to live life and be free and have things shift and have things change. Perhaps those two divergent ways of going about things, at least for the moment, are not as divergent as we might think. Perhaps it's okay to let each party think their own way of thinking things, even if we think they're a complete, idiot, even if we think they're a jerk, right? It's okay to think that, but at the same time, you can't stop that person from doing this, that, or the other thing in that particular situation. At the end of the day, everybody is looking for a way out. And that's something that this new moon is trying to teach us at this particular moment in time. The new moon that takes place on the 23rd of April is in Ashwini Nakshatra. Okay? Ashwini is the very first nakshatra. As the very first nakshatra, it represents the primal spark of creation. That's, God in totality deciding, hey, you know what? I want to be aware of myself. So I'm going to split off into two so that the unity that is me can look back on the unity that is me. That creates two dual things. But guess what? With Ashwini, with the Ashwins, the divine physicians, which are pictured as twins, they're both identical on a certain level, right? There's dualism that's there too. And they are both cooperating to pull a chariot across the sky. And it can be very powerful energy, the power of a horse, which is the symbol of Ashwini Nakshatra. Have you ever been around a horse when they get spooked? It's a pretty, powerful thing, right? It's a very strong animal, a lot of force within that. So the Ashwins, seemingly divergent in their approach to things, really they're twins. And really they're cooperating to pull together a unity. What is that unity aside from all the other stuff that I've been talking about? That unity is the evolution of consciousness, right? The evolution of consciousness to go through the cosmic journey and come back to that point of unity with a fuller understanding of oneself, right? So they both have the energy to do that. As a matter of fact, I want to try to find the sutra here for Ashwini Nakshatra from something called Taittiriya Brahmana. And that particular sutra, pardon me while I click away, is the two harnessed horses of the Ashwini are the community from above and the army from below. So they're a community, but they're divergent, okay? They're also an army that is out to achieve something, that is there to tackle a problem, but they're a unity and they're equally diverse. So it's okay to have a different point of view. We learn from different points of view. It's okay if those different points of view even turn into disagreements or a certain level of conflict. But it is also wise, at least in my opinion, to approach that conflict with a level of openness, because we can also learn from a divergent point of view. And that's ultimately what we're needing to look at right now. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with this new moon. Obviously, a new moon is when you have the sun and the moon joining each other. And this is taking place in Ashwini Nakshatra at a time when the sun is kind of weakening in its strength. And that sun weakening in its strength is feeling like it doesn't have the vitality to continue with the particular situation. This new moon is being influenced by an aspect from both Jupiter as well as Saturn. And that aspect from Jupiter, it equally is losing its zest, whereas in previous weeks, Jupiter's been, perhaps a little low on the keeping high hopes about a situation, but there's been a lot of persistence. Right now, it's beginning to feel like that persistence is waning a little bit, like that strength is diminishing. And so each person in whatever problem you're dealing with, whether this is about what's going on in the world at large or whether it's what's going on in your own little enclave, each person is beginning to feel like, hey, this really has to change soon, because my capacity to persist with this, it's not really as strong as it used to be. And so then when that happens, you begin to feel like, I need a quick solution to this. And when you start looking for that quick solution, you start looking to try to solve a problem in any possible way that you can solve it, rather than looking to solve it in precisely the correct way that you need to solve it. And so you start looking for all these different threads, different potentials that might potentially solve your problem. And so you'll grab onto one thread and you'll pull it until quickly that thread begins to unravel. And you'll grab on another one and you'll pull it until quickly that thread begins to unravel. And here you are grasping at straws, right? And there you were thinking that your way was a better way than somebody else's way is. And here you are grasping at straws. Guess what? They're doing the same thing, because you're both kind of finding yourself in a phase where you're going, we have to work against each other, when right now there's a need to work with each other, and not exactly in the way that one way wants or in the way that another person wants, but in allowing each person to have their philosophy about the way things are going in regards to whatever the situation might mean for you, right? So in addition to that, as I mentioned, there's an aspect from Saturn, which is really strong in a positive way, because I know sometimes when I say Saturn strong, you might think really negative things about it. But Saturn's strong in a positive way, as it's transiting Sravana Nakshatra. Sravana Nakshatra teaches us that although we may see this path as being one path, that path as being another, this path as being this path as being another, ultimately, all paths lead to the same destination. So it's about connecting those seemingly divergent concepts and bringing them together. And it's okay, because what you'll find is in the midst of doing that, you'll find that there are more areas that you agree upon, most likely than perhaps you were aware of. And sure, you'll still have your disagreements, but with those areas on which there's agreement, it helps you to find a greater level of unity, and it helps you to push through the difficulty. Remember, there is no totalitarian way out of the problem that you're dealing with. There's no need to try to seize authority. There's no need to try to power grab. It's not necessarily that your belief is more sacred than somebody else's belief. This is not a time that we need to be pointing fingers. This is a time that we need to try to see where precisely it is that we're all united. And hey, you may disagree with everything I just said to you, right? Because I don't need to be totalitarian in my viewpoint. I don't need for you to see things my way, right? But I do want to try to express to you the way that I see them and understand the way that you see them as well. And if you could use a little bit of help sorting through whatever difficult scenario it is that you might be facing in your life, As always, I do offer several different levels of astrological service, each of which are available through my astrological services page, where sliding scale rates are being offered at the link above. That's going to do it for this look at the new moon in Ashwini Nakshatra, which takes place overnight on the 22nd into the 23rd of April 2020. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.